Today, we're diving into the reign of an emperor who basically took a crumbling dynasty and built an empire from the ground up, the Kangxi Emperor. But his story? It's not just some simple tale of triumph. It's this complex, fascinating story of a brilliant scholar who was also, well, a ruthless autocrat. So how did one guy hold that much power? And what was the real cost of his so-called golden age?
Okay, just try to imagine being handed the keys to one of the largest empires on Earth. Now, picture doing it when you're this age. 8. That's right. Kangxi was just 8 years old when he ascended to the dragon throne back in 1661. And he wasn't just some figurehead child king. He was a kid ruling a massive realm that was teetering on the brink of complete collapse.
So that's the big question, right? How does an 8-year-old kid grow up to become one of the most powerful and effective rulers in history? And let me tell you, it was absolutely not a matter of luck. It was this calculated mix of political genius, military brilliance, and a really deep, driving curiosity that would end up shaping the course of an entire dynasty. To really get a handle on Kangxi, you first have to appreciate the sheer scale of his time in power. He sat on the dragon throne for 61 years. That's longer than any other emperor in China's incredibly long history. And this wasn't just about holding on to power for a long time. This was the very foundation upon which a whole century of stability and prosperity was built.
You know, his rise to absolute power wasn't an accident. It was totally calculated and methodical. He starts out as this boy king in 61, but by 1667, he's already outmaneuvering these powerful regents who thought they could just control him. Then comes the ultimate test. This huge rebellion breaks out. But by 1683, he crushes it, completely securing his rule for the next 4 decades. And crushing that rebellion? It wasn't just about survival. No, it was a critical step in his much bigger mission, to unite a seriously fractured nation. You have to remember, the Qing Dynasty was still seen as a foreign power by a lot of Han Chinese. I mean, they were Manchu rulers. The threat of another revolt was constant, and Kangxi's whole goal was to put an end to that chaos once and for all. His strategy was kind of like this 3-pronged attack on instability. First, while he was still just a teenager, he cleverly gets rid of the powerful regents who completely underestimated him. Next, he takes on the massive rebellion of the 3 feudatories. I mean, a brutal civil war that nearly tore his dynasty apart. And finally, he launches these big military campaigns to secure China's vast borders, creating a much more stable and unified empire. But here's the thing, Kangxi's power wasn't just built on armies and military might. He was also a deeply intellectual ruler, basically a scholar in an emperor's robes. And it was this unique combination of warrior and intellectual that would really define his entire approach to governing. His mind was this incredible mix of 2 different worlds. On one hand, he was a total master of traditional Chinese culture, a devotee of Confucianism, poetry, calligraphy, the whole 9 yards. But on the other hand, he had this insatiable curiosity for Western science. He was eagerly studying things like anatomy, mathematics, and even astronomy with the Jesuit missionaries in his court. For a Chinese emperor at that time, that was a truly radical interest. And this intellectual curiosity, it fueled a massive cultural golden age. He commissioned the Kangxi Dictionary, a huge project that helped standardize the Chinese language. He sponsored these ambitious mapping projects to get a better handle on his own empire. And he became a huge patron of the arts and sciences, which led to incredible advancements in things like porcelain craftsmanship. He wasn't just a ruler, he was an architect of culture. This quote really captures the essence of the image he so carefully built for himself. He presented himself as the ideal Confucian ruler, wise, benevolent, and deeply committed to the well-being of his people. But this wasn't just a personal philosophy. It was a powerful political tool for winning over the influential Han Chinese scholars he needed on his side. But, and this is a big but, this image of a kind, scholarly ruler is only half the story. Because simmering just beneath the surface of this golden age, a much darker reality was taking shape, one built on absolute control and ruthless suppression. Because for all its brilliance, this golden age had some deep cracks forming just beneath the surface. And the very methods that Kangxi used to build his empire would, ironically, end up planting the seeds of its future problems. All that stability and progress came at a really steep price. Dissent wasn't just discouraged, it was crushed with brutal efficiency. He imposed strict literary censorship to control what people could read and think. He demanded absolute, unquestioning loyalty from everyone. And those successful military campaigns, they were incredibly bloody. And maybe his single biggest failure was actually a personal one, but it had devastating political consequences. For all his wisdom, he completely failed to manage his own succession. He had dozens of sons all fighting for the throne, and his final years were just plagued by bitter infighting. He left a legacy of chaos that was just waiting to erupt the second he was gone.
So this chaotic end to his reign really forces us to ask this central question of his legacy. When you weigh all his incredible achievements against his brutal tyranny, what does it actually mean to call a ruler great?
His legacy is really a study in contrasts. On one side, you've got the builder, the man who unified a nation, who was a patron of the arts, who brought in this long era of peace. But on the other side, you've got the autocrat, the ruler who centralized all power, demanded absolute loyalty, and in the end left a total mess of a succession crisis.
And so we're left with this final question. Kangxi's story really forces us to confront a timeless dilemma. Is greatness measured only by what a leader builds, or do we also have to factor in the human cost of their ambition? That, right there, is the enduring and complicated legacy of the boy who became an emperor and forever shaped a nation.